Tonight on News 5 Live, Justice Antoinette Moore reserves judgment in the murder trial against William Danny Mason and co-accused. Police seek public assistance to identify the murder victim who was found bludgeoned at the Orange Walk Cemetery. Employees of the Citrus Growers Association say they have not been paid in months as crowdfunding of assets is underway. And we catch up with Miss Universe Belize, Destiny Arnold, as she shares her experiences on her journey to the international crown. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
For those who like to have unlimited options in life, don't let limits hold you back.
Prepaid and hybrid customers can
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, October 25th. I am Charlie Hutchinson. Supreme Court Justice Antoinette Moore has reserved judgment in the murder trial of the century that paralyzed the nation with gruesome details, scandalous accusations, and serious allegations against ministers. William Danny Mason, a Guyanese national who goes by the name Rajesh Ouellette, stands accused of kidnapping and decapitating Pastor Llewellyn Lucas 3 years ago in July 2016. Four other men, believed to be Mason's henchmen and accomplices, also stood trial, and they are Ernest Castillo, Kieran Fernandez, Ashton Vanegas, and Terence Fernandez. The trial has been going on for weeks at the Belmopan Supreme Court, with the prosecution submitting that the accused men acted in a joint enterprise when they cold-bloodedly decapitated the pastor. DPP Cheryl Lynn Vidal says there was enough communication, including text messages between Pastor Lou and William Mason, to show a reason for the pastor's murder. The Guyanese attorney for Mason, Dexter Todd, argued that the evidence against Mason is circumstantial and that his client was being framed for murder. Closing arguments wrapped up today. Kieran Fernandez was represented by attorney Brian Neal, who touched on several points. Neal pointed to the court that his client, as a matter of fact, and law, is entitled to be acquitted of the charge of murder because the Crown has failed to provide the court with evidence that his client appears in the surveillance footage obtained from Mason's house. Neal told the court that the prosecution has failed to present a witness that has positively identified his client in the video. As for the accusation of joint enterprise, the Crown has failed to prove it, says Neal. In respect to the DNA evidence, Neal pointed out that the evidence was not obtained from a crime scene and is therefore unreliable, and that the investigation conducted by the police was poor. Neal strongly believes that the various strands of circumstantial evidence cannot be woven together to provide the prosecution a strong enough case that would require a guilty verdict.
I was able to focus on the identification evidence in the video, which was very grainy and did not make out any face of any of the accused men. And I pointed out that particularly the third accused, and who they are saying in the video is the third accused, whom I represent, was not identified by any of the other witnesses that attended in this trial. So there's no proper identification evidence. I also submitted about the DNA evidence, the way it was collected, and the fact that it wasn't collected from a crime scene, that it cannot count as evidence against my client. I focused on the faulty investigation that went nowhere as far as I am concerned, and a couple other legal points that I hope the judge will consider and enter a verdict of not guilty for the third accused man, Kieran Fernandez.
I believe it was your position and that of a couple of your colleagues that the circumstantial evidence brought by the Crown was not weaved together sufficiently to prove that your client, or even those of your colleague, represented by your colleagues, committed this murder?
Very good question. Let me break it down for you so that even a baby could understand. Think about it like a rope. You have one piece of evidence, identification. You have another piece, DNA. You have another piece, investigation. You must tie all those strands together like a rope. And if the rope is tight, then you have proved your case. We are saying that the rope cannot be woven together. Therefore, there is no circumstantial evidence and the case fails.
So for you guys, the attorneys representing these men in this very extended trial, it must be a relief that closing arguments are over and the judge has reserved her decision.
I will be relieved if my client is acquitted. The case is not over. You've heard the judge reserve judgment for before the end of the year. The relief will come from me if my client is acquitted.
Also making closing arguments today was attorney Norman Rodriguez, who is representing Ashton Vanegas. According to Rodriguez, the prosecution has failed to call on any witness to provide evidence that his client was involved in the murder of Pastor Llewellyn Lucas. Rodriguez asked the court to not consider the evidence presented by the prosecution, who he says is pulling evidence from the side to patch holes. As it relates to the surveillance video taken from Mason's house, Rodriguez told the court that the Crown failed to call a witness to positively identify his client in the grainy video. Rodriguez pointed to the court that no evidence which suggests that his client inflicted any harm on the deceased has been presented.
I will subject what I say to the authority of the court, which has the final decision in this. But yes, I believe that Mr. Ashton Venegas is innocent. There is actually absolutely no evidence to support that he committed any act of murder.
Okay, now, sir, a major piece of the DPP's evidence that she's provided to the court is surveillance footage from William Mason's home surveillance system, which she says, if you study it carefully, frame by frame, you can definitely make out your client and everybody else. You might not be able to see their faces, but if you study the video long enough that you can. Do you disagree?
Section 64 of the Evidence Act tells you that you can bring evidence to the court, out of court, or in court through your witnesses. Witnesses are brought before the court during the presentation of the Crown's case and the defense case. And where that is not done, it is not considered evidence. So my opinion, my thought is that I don't need to comment on a video evidence where no witness came before the close of the Crown's and the defense's case to identify any of those people in that video.
Moore is expected to hand down a verdict by year's end. In the course of the trial this week, a written statement was introduced from a U.S. federal agent who was called in by the Belize Police Department following Lucas's murder because Mason had asked to speak with the U.S. Embassy. Mason identified himself as Rajesh Ouellette from Guyana, who was in the country as a businessman. In his statement, the agent writes that Mason told him that he was in fear for his life because the Minister of National Security was attempting to frame him. When we caught up with the Deputy Prime Minister Patrick Faber on Thursday, we asked him about the sensational statement from the U.S. agent that now forms part of the court records of the trial. Faber took the high road.
I'd prefer not to entertain the question. And the reason is simple. I think enough is being said about the matter in the court of public opinion. It is raging wild on Facebook and other social media. And it is also something that is in the legal courts. So those who will try him and try the situation are already doing so. And because he is my opponent and because he's also my colleague, because I believe absolutely that John is a good leader, he has been my friend for all of these years, I would prefer not to touch the subject and to leave it to others. I wouldn't want anybody to accuse me of using the situation to take advantage because he's my political opponent in this case. I think enough has been said and enough people are making their positions known on the matter. So I leave it at that.
Police needs the assistance of the public to determine the identity of a murder victim. The body of the man was found between two graves at a cemetery in Orange Walk Town around 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Today, police released some photographs showing tattoos as distinguishing marks on the victim's body. The name Marta is also tattooed on the body of the Hispanic man. John Doe met a brutal death. His head and face were smashed in with a concrete cross found nearby. According to the reports, the body had been lying there for hours before police were notified and went to the scene. Tonight, the body remains at the morgue pending identification. The Citrus Growers Association, a representative organization of approximately 250 small growers, remains in financial ruin. We have covered extensively the dire situation that the CGA has found itself in, a dilemma that goes back to 2016 and has now landed the association on the brink of bankruptcy. This evening, several of its employees reached out to News 5 expressing discontent with the association for failure to meet their bi-monthly salaries. The management of the CGA has also not been paid for the past 3 months, and creditors have since moved in to crowfoot the assets of the association. According to Davis Marshall, an information technology officer who has been working with CGA for the past 14 years, despite a meeting with the administration, there is no sign of a payment on the horizon for employees, and basic amenities and utilities are already being cut out from the CGA office.
So far for the month of October, we have not received any salaries. Management has not received any salaries for the past 3 months.
What is the situation insofar as the reason behind you guys not being paid in a timely manner?
Cash flow problems at the Citrus Growers Association. Also, our benefits like the Social Security contributions are not being paid. Income tax is not being paid. I know about one employee who has resigned and still not collected his gratuity.
Okay. Now, you guys, like most other Belizeans, have bills and obligations that you need to meet on a monthly basis, if I may. How are you guys managing not being able to collect your salaries and then you have bills mounting?
Well, we all have responsibilities. We have children. We have our homes to take care of. And we are making this call to the media now because then staff has reached a limit, and staff came to me and said, you know what, David, we cannot handle it anymore.
Have you guys collectively met with the management? I know you've mentioned that they too have not been collecting salaries for the past 3 months. Have you guys sat together to discuss the way forward in terms of getting the finances of the association back on track, enough for you guys to collect your pay?
Well, management said that they are working on some proposal that based on the meeting that they had with the Prime Minister, but so far it has been far-fetched. They are not coming out clearly to us and telling us what's the plan.
Marilyn Peters, who has also been with the CGA for the past 15 years as an accounts payable clerk, explained how the creditors visited their offices a few weeks ago inquiring about the management team. Notwithstanding their absence, they proceeded to place markers on a number of CGA assets in an attempt to recover monies owed to them. News 5 understands that the association owes roughly $18,000 to UNO and approximately $60,000 to Westrac.
The debts have been, I would believe, from around like 2016. We have been owing those invoices, and we haven't been able to commit to the payment, right? And the people have come and asked us to sign promissory notes. Was the first beginning of it, and then after that, they took out like a lawsuit, and we still weren't able to come up with those payments either. So a few weeks ago, I just saw some people came and they asked to talk to somebody in management, but nobody was here. So then they started to, put a little marker on the assets that they believe would be able to cover that bill for no petrol.
How long have you not been paid? And how are you getting by in the absence of a bi-weekly or monthly salary?
Well, we are supposed to be paid bi-monthly. That's on the 15th and the ending of the month. And we haven't received anything yet for October. I really don't know how I keep up. But I have a son also attending the University of Belize. So they're not just about home. I have commitments with education with my child and all that. So it's really been challenging for me because it's me alone at my home with my 2 kids.
Coming up, today's Senate sitting lasts for an hour. Outside the chambers, we asked the AG about a new Contractor General.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from
Earlier in the month, Prime Minister Dean Barrow responded to a letter sent by firebrand activist Giovanni Brackett regarding a proposed contract to automatically renew Brad's Gaming Company Limited's management contract to manage the lottery. In response, PM Barrow told Brackett that the cabinet discussed the matter and rejected automatic renewal of the license. The PM indicated that the contract will be put to open tender and it is expected that Brad's would make a proposal. Brad's company has been granted the contract since 2009, raking in millions of dollars in administrative fees and taxes for the government of Belize. There are now reports that a company registered overseas but controlled by a highly connected Belizean holds shares in Brad's. The name of the company is Goodlee Limited, an IBC registered in St. Lucia. Cabinet Minister Godwin Holt says that, quote, lots of contracts around the world and lots of contracts in Belize have foreign shareholders, unquote.
There were 3 applicants at the time. We had screened them thoroughly, and Brad's emerged. Well, one dropped out, and then just at the last hour, the other one dropped out, and we were only left with Brad. So the committee that I was on was made up of several people. I was at the time senator for the business community. And so we, after looking at the conditions that would be put on the Brad company to progress with this, we were satisfied and we recommended to the government. Of course, it was the government that did the final contract. So that's where it's ended for me.
So why should such a lucrative contract be with a shareholder that's under a foreign company?
I don't know, Marisol. Lots of things, lots of contracts around the world, and lots of contracts in Belize have foreign shareholders and that sort of thing. But as I said, it's going to go to tender, that's what I hear. And another company may come up with a much better proposal and the government may grab it.
Belize has been without a contractor general for almost 2 years, and the work that the office is mandated to carry out is currently being executed by the Attorney General's office. In order to attract possible qualified candidates, the government amended the act, removing a specific limitation that prevents anyone who takes up the post to work in the public service after the end of his or her term. Attorney General Michael Perifeet says that the expectation is that applications would be pouring in.
We are expecting that more people would step forward from the public to offer themselves to be contractor general. That's our hope and expectation.
So we should soon have another contractor general.
Well, I'm hoping. I invited Senator Lizaraga to apply the last time. I'm hoping. And, I'm hoping, please, we're begging for applications, because in the meantime, it's my office that's doing the donkey work. That office does. It's a tough job. We've been doing that. We will gladly pass it off to a contractor general.
The contract of the former Contractor General, Godwin Arzu, was not renewed after the Senate pointed out that he had not submitted annual reports for several years. The Senate met in special session for about an hour this morning in Belmopan to ratify the Economic Partnership Agreement between the CARIFORUM states and the United Kingdom. This is in the preparation for the highly expected exit of the United Kingdom from the European Union. The EU is expected to agree to the UK's request for a Brexit delay, although it remains unclear whether the new date will be on the 31st of January 2020. In any event, lawmakers here in Belize are making sure that trade agreements with the UK remain stable if and when Brexit occurs. The Senate today ratified the Economic Partnership Agreement to secure the agriculture trade with the United Kingdom. Senator for Government Business, Godwin Hulse, says the agreement mirrors the existing partnership that is shared between the UK and CARIFORUM and the Dominican Republic.
As a member of the CARIFORUM states, which is the whole Caribbean and the Dominican Republic, an agreement with the European Union for our trade. Fundamentally, I don't want to get it more complicated than that. And that is working really well for bananas or citrus or sugar, everything. With the United Kingdom moving out now, that agreement would fall away with respect to them. But the United Kingdom is one of our biggest trading partners. So we needed to mirror the same agreement with the United Kingdom so that when they move, if they move, we continue with business as usual. We don't know when and if and how they will move, and if they'll have a referendum, that's not our call. But we wanted to be prepared. So the CARIFORUM states got together with the UK and negotiated this agreement, which is, as I said, mirrors the existing agreement. And so each country has to go through the ratification process. In Belize, as you know, the Senate is the authority, is the institution that ratifies this agreement. Now that we have done this, it is legal in this country, it is the country's law. and we are good to go if and when the UK exits. If they don't exit, we're still good to go. And if they exit, we're good to go.
I rise as well in support of this treaty before us, because we're preempting, even though today we don't know if Brexit is a yes or no, or stay or go, no? Because you hear so many things in the news, and we are not sure if they're going to go to a new election, if Brexit is going to be going back to the populace, to a referendum or whatever. But nevertheless, what the leader of government business has expressed is that we have mirrored the existing agreement and we've prepared ourselves in the event. And I believe that it's a good thing that we're doing today.
I rise to make some short comments. We on this side are in support of this economic partnership agreement. It says no party or signatory CARIFORUM state may introduce any new subsidy program which is contingent upon export or increase any existing subsidy of this nature on agricultural products destined for the territory of the other party. Now, there is a footnote that speaks to an annex in the WTO agreement, for which we would have needed some time to go and look carefully at that annex. But as we look at, for example, what is occurring in our agricultural sector, let's say we look at what's going on in citrus. And let us say that in the wisdom of the government, it's decided that some new subsidy might be necessary to bring the citrus industry back to the levels of export that it was at. Then what are the implications here? So those are some of the things that I am sure our experts have looked at, but while we read this in a rush manner, we don't get the opportunity on our own accord to be able to get answers.
Annex referred to with subsidies deals with white sugar. And as you will recall, there was a WTO ruling with respect to the exports of sugar from the CARIFORUM states, particularly Belize, Jamaica, Suriname, Guyana, etc. And because the challenge brought by Thailand, Australia, and Brazil was successful, and the European Union at the time ruled that the subsidies, that the preferential price must be discontinued, they introduced what was called an accompanying measure for sugar. And there was also one for bananas. That accompanying measure for sugars ran out by 2017 when we know that the liberalization process took place. And Poland and those countries in the EU would now be okay to produce sugar again. We were given from 2001 to roughly 2017 to kind of get our act in order. And so there was all sorts of things in the sugar belt to try to enhance it. As you well know, there is going to be no subsidy with respect to Belize sugar any further. In fact, we have advanced it so much so that Belize is now the leader in the region, the CARIFORUM region, except for the CARICOM region, not CARIFORUM, because there's a DR. But in the CARICOM region, with respect to sugar production.
Senior Magistrate Aretha Ford has committed Antoine Rivero to stand trial for the murder of 37-year-old Marcy Melissa Downs, a mother of two. Rivero is to be tried in the January 2020 session of the Supreme Court. Downs was gunned down on the night of April 11th in 2018. She was at the gate of her house on Handyside when a man approached her and opened fire, mortally wounding the mother of two. Downs was rushed to the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital where she succumbed to her injuries while undergoing treatment. U.S. National Robert Blackford pleaded guilty to possession of 206 grams of cannabis when he appeared before Senior Magistrate Aretha Ford this morning. For his guilty plea, Magistrate Ford fined him $1,000 plus $5 cost of court, which he is required to pay by December 13th. Failure to pay would land the 64-year-old behind bars for 10 months. Police say they found the drugs during a search at the home of the U.S. National in the San Pedrito area of San Pedro town. The cannabis was concealed in a plastic bag inside his refrigerator. Residents of Caribbean shores, those in the immediate vicinity of a boatyard near the Belize sign, have expressed serious concerns over the use of that property for ongoing fiberglass works. The compressed glass fibers, which emit particles into the atmosphere when sprayed, are harmful to the body, and recently the facility began conducting work using the material. Today, attorney Esteban Pereira, who lives across from the boatyard, spoke with News 5, explaining to us the concerns being shared among residents, particularly since there is also a preschool not far away from where the works are being done.
A number of residents came to see me, about 30 residents. I understand that it's growing because I'm getting continuous texts coming from concerned residents in the Caribbean Shores area, and they've asked me to bring to the forefront and to request assistance from the area representative and from the Department of Environment and from the government and whoever can assist to ensure that the recent activities that have been occurring in the property next to the Belize sign does not involve the use of working on boats with fiberglass issues, because when you repair these boats, which they have started yesterday, once you start working on these fiberglass boats, it produces particles of fiberglass that actually can be blown in the air, and it can go quite far and quite quickly, and it can affect the health of the citizens and the children within the area of the Caribbean Shores vicinity, especially this area here. As you are aware, we have a preschool which is less than maybe 200 feet away from this location, and they have fairly young children attending there, and they too can and will be affected by the situation if it's allowed to persist, and if the fiberglass particles does continue to be created by the activities of these parties.
What is the immediate appeal for this activity to cease and desist?
Yes, indeed. The immediate appeal is for them to take note of the concerns of all the residents within the Caribbean Shores area. We've also made this appeal so that we can reach out to the area representative, Mr. Kari Musa. We have done so as a collective basis, and he has indicated that he will be looking into it as fast as possible, because he understands our concerns and the predicament that we're in.
It was a proud occasion for a group of just under 100 young persons. For 6 months, they had been learning life skills in the youth mentorship program of the Belize Police Department. In addition to building relations, the program is a way to engage the youth in productive activity and distance them from crime and street life. After successfully completing the program, they were beaming with pride today at a graduation ceremony at the Radisson Hotel in Belize City. Here is News 5's Dwayne Moody.
The Youth Mentorship Program of the Belize Police Department was established back in 2017 and focused on at-risk youth across Southside Belize City. It quickly spread to incorporate children from the North Side as well. 3 years later, the program has grown to incorporate 150 youngsters from both primary and secondary institutions, as well as those becoming a part of the workforce. With assistance from the private sector and a number of mentors, 80 of the 150 mentees graduated today.
There's 4 specific things. One is definitely building the relationship, the police and, of course, the young persons. 2, we wanted to look at the area of reduction of crime and violence. Third one is looking at the building skills within these young persons, and, of course, looking at leadership, where we want to work with them from a young stage. We've met all 4 of these things, these areas, and definitely now we are looking at achieving even more, because we've seen in terms of our achievement in some of the behaviors of some of these kids, which are of course are high-risk kids, we've seen some of them changing.
For the past 6 months, the young boys and girls have been participating in 5-hour sessions on Saturdays. They are being taught life skills and how not to become a victim of circumstance. Anastasia Ferguson is a second form student at Maud Williams High School. She's been with the program for 3 years.
My experience was great. I learned self-esteem, life skills, and off the different trips that they take us on, I learned how to bond with other person. I wasn't at risk or trouble or anything, but the program had helped me through a lot, because first I was a really shy person, but ever since I started the program, more and more the shyness just faded away.
While Anastasia has developed her self-esteem, 17-year-old Tyler McCoy says that the department is assisting him with getting a job.
The program is a program where keep you off of the street, keep you a good lead, maybe keep away from the gangs and get a good life and still get a headway.
For you, what was it like, you personally?
For me, well, for me, like, just give me a heads up for like keep off of the streets.
Now, you're 17 years old, you're out of school, well, you graduated, you finished school. Are we looking for job placement for you, and how is that going with the department?
It don't find the department find a job for me.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
After the break, was Alberto August forced out as UDP chairman? We hear from the man who wants to replace him.
The Belize Coastal Zone
Today, applications to contest positions in the UDP executive closed. As we have been reporting, the big election will be for the new leader of the UDP between Patrick Faber and John Saldivar. Both are lining up the ducks, with Saldivar putting up a slate. But in the South, Clifford boss P. Peters says, quote, "Not so fast, John. I am not on your slate," unquote. If you have been following social media, John Saldivar has posted a roster of candidates for the available posts. That slate includes Peters, the sibling of Dangriga Mayor Francis Humphreys, who is an ardent supporter of Faber. On Wednesday, he told the media his bid for vice chairman is independent.
I'm running independent for the candidacy of the vice chairman. That position to me is important, that you do not sure to pick sides, because in Dangriga usually that has divided us in the past and has caused great controversy and has hurt our society more than any other society.
So are you on Team Saldivar?
No, sir. I'm running independently.
How did your name get on Team Saldivar's slate?
Well, me and the minister, Mr. Mena, are back united for the upcoming election. My brother, who is the mayor, would have contested him in a convention, but we sit down and we talk it out, and we have decided that Mr. Mena is the right person to represent us, and it would do us more harm than good.
As you would know, Attorney General Michael Perrafete wants to be the UDP's next party chairman. The party will hold its convention in February of next year, and Perrafete's intention is to replace current chairman Alberto August. His candidacy is supported by August himself, who oddly enough has submitted his name for the vice chairman position. While many view August's decision as a voluntary demotion, August says it's a move to allow for new blood to lead the party. Today, Perrafete was asked if August was stepping aside or being forced out.
He's stepping aside to allow you to run as chairman?
Well, you would have to ask him why he doesn't want to be chairman anymore.
But he's going for deputy chairman, that's the report.
Right? Well,
I mean,
no, he has applied
what
for,
bigger than chairman?
he has applied for vice chairman. You would have to ask him why. He indicated to the party that he would not be seeking the chairmanship anymore. A couple of my colleagues encouraged me to think about it. I thought about it. I even spoke to Alberto, and he welcomed my interest in the chairmanship of the party. So not everything is a conspiracy theory. You know? Not everything is loaded and layered with intrigue and mystery. And no, some things are just simple. It's not always chess. Sometimes it's just checkers.
When we come back, the University of Belize honors the late G.N. Gandhi by putting his name on one of its buildings.
We were born for all. The mechanic in Belmopan, the chef in San Pedro. Even though things change, we continue to be for all.
The University of Belize has officially renamed its Faculty of Management and Social Science campus in Belize City in honor of the late G.N. Gandhi. He is the former Solicitor General and Senior Crown Counsel who donated $500,000 to UB. President Clement Sankat was on hand this afternoon for the unveiling of a plaque bearing Gandhi's name. Also in attendance were representatives of the government of Belize as well as members of Gandhi's family. Chairman of UB Board of Trustees Harrison Pilgrim spoke on the symbolism of renaming the West Lendiver campus building.
This is the National University of Belize. This is where we train our youth and not so youthful persons. This is ours, and we must, all of us, embrace it, help to build it. This edifice today now bears the proud name of a person who is not a native of Belize, but a person who dedicated a lifetime of work within Belize. And it is our hope that many of you will find it possible, maybe not to have your name etched on an entire building, but perhaps a room, or in some other way make your contribution felt. Professor Sankat has as an important part of what I call his mantra that we must not only be a university that is relevant and therefore will produce persons who can help us build the country in the direction that we want it to go, but that in order to do that, we must also make sure that the university provides access. Access not only for those who may have some money or access to some money, but access to those who are less fortunate financially.
It was all about macaroni this morning for a group of enterprising students from the University of Belize. But the macaroni was not for consumption. Instead, it was used to build model bridges by the engineering students. Today, their work was tested for weight and durability. Here is News 5's Dwayne Moody.
For the past 2 days, students from the engineering program at the University of Belize have been participating in the annual macaroni structure competition. It began on Thursday with groups of 4 applying techniques learned throughout the program to construct bridges out of macaroni. Using the physics of tensions and their ingenuity, the students' project, which they had 8 hours to construct, were put to the test with weights.
It started in 2008, this competition. I saw the need for the students to have something to do a hands-on kind of thing with structures. This is talking about trusses, checking what is tension and compression, and those things that is basically done in class. So we took it out, we gave them the opportunity to do a model, which now this is the 11th year that we are doing it now. And then we're having fun right now at this present time.
So it's creating bridges with macaroni?
Yes, that is correct. Most people think macaroni is only used for fettuccine or any other thing for eat. Put it in a pot and you eat it, right? But here in the engineering department, we're using it for structures. Basically, we use macaroni, spaghetti. We use the glue sticks to stick it together. We have straws, we have paleta sticks, and a couple bottles that was provided as well for them. And then that's the end product right now.
The students were tasked to design bridges at a particular height and width, among other capabilities with measures. When completed, the bridges should also carry a specific range in weight and durability.
That's to check the loading which the bridges can take. This is just a small scale. You can compare it to a large scale anywhere in the world, in Belize, wherever you want to put it. These bridges can be designed in that purpose. Due to the loading and the calculations, they will need to calculate it properly to see where the joints might fail or could fail, and then they go ahead from there. The material is just macaroni and spaghetti right now, but then that can be compared with the steel structure.
There were quite a number of female engineering students who participated in the competition, which reflects that this field of work is no longer considered a job only for the man.
The reason I came into engineering mainly is because I like to ask questions. Why, how, and whatever, and so forth, and being an engineer would allow me to do that. I'll be able to answer my own questions. I see a lot of stuff in Belize around in our country. You could be driving from your house to the Chinese store and you see a lot of places that we could improve. And I like change, and I like to be a part of that change.
The budding students say that the program is instructive because they get to see the details in the functionality of things.
We had a test run before this that failed at 15 kilos. We learned from that the different sections we needed to reinforce, and which would be the beams and the studs, right? So we reinforced those on our new bridge, and we added a lot more glue and reinforcement to that bridge so it could withstand the 31.9 kilos it did today.
My first semester in the program, I saw them mentioning that because it's a second year program, competition, sorry. And I'm like, macaroni bridge is the same regular reaction. And when I was with some of my peers, I saw how they calculated trusses and the members, and it actually works. Obviously, you could see, and to say, us as engineers, we are given tasks every day to make the best out of whatever material we're given. You have to do each construction site, any project is different. It's never the same, right? Whether it be from the soil to the roofing difference or the zoning, it's always different. And being given such a brittle material and being able to make such a strong structure out of it is beyond words.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Coming up after the break, we go one-on-one with Miss Belize Universe as she prepares for the International Miss Universe pageant.
KTV Latino.
In this season of KTV Latino, you can vote for your favorite contestant by using your digital
global perspective.
Miss Belize Universe Destiny Arnold arrived in the country today and hit the ground running. During her time here, she is undertaking a number of appointments as she prepares for the International Miss Universe to be held in December. The Belizean beauty is taking on violence against women, but today visited the Sadie Vernon High School to share some words with the students for Drug Awareness Week. Here is Dwayne Moody with a report.
Miss Universe Belize Destiny Arnold has been making waves on online social media polls across the region and internationally. The 26-year-old Belizean beauty touched down in the Jewel this morning and got straight into action. She's here for an official shoot to showcase the country for the Miss Universe pageant, which, as has been recently announced, will be held on December 8th in the U.S. The exact location has not been revealed. Even with a packed itinerary, Arnold stopped in at the Sadie Vernon High School to address the young people for Drug Awareness Week.
We know a lot of our violence is tied to drug use. So it's important for us to begin that cultural shift, to kind of demonize drugs so that we don't have to allow our youth to become susceptible to it. So by talking to them, seeing where they stand, and making them aware of it is that first step in that cultural step.
Since winning the pageant on September 6th, Arnold has been doing several photo and video shoots on her road to the international stage while balancing her full-time career as property claims field adjuster for home restoration in the insurance industry, which is a male-dominated field. Arnold says that she has been preparing for this level of pageantry her entire life and is dead set on making history once again for the country on the Miss Universe stage.
They just announced the date of Miss Universe as December 8th in the United States. So the pressure is on. I have been working with multiple coaches, making sure that I am keen on all of the global issues, making sure that I know my application inside and out so that I'm ready for that interview. Because as you all may know, if you don't nail the interview, you don't make the top 20. So that's been my main focus.
The National Costume and Evening Gown are among the highlights of the pageant. Last year, Belize gave homage to the country's Mayan heritage. So what will Arnold be rocking this year? While we know that the Miss Universe Belize organization has paired Destiny with top designers, she was tight-lipped about revealing too many details.
You're trying to get me in trouble, letting out secrets. All I can say is that the national costume is going to be a reflection of Belize's beauty. When you think of Belize, you're going to think of my costume. When you think of my costume, you're going to think of Belize. So that's all I can say about that. Unfortunately, I can't give off too many secrets. And as far as the evening gown, that's yet to be announced. That's a surprise as well. But it's going to make sure that it's complementing my body, complementing my spirit, because that's just another way that I can communicate with the judges about who I am, what I represent, and what Belize brings to the table.
Miss Universe is about the inner beauty, the confident, the beautiful woman, and the causes they champion. Arnold is advocating for an end to gender-based violence in Belize and has partnered with Hope for Life in the West to help women take care of their families.
One of the main issues in Belize right now is violence against women. And if you've studied the cycle of violence, one of the main stages is economic dependency. So my cause is trying to target that in all aspects. One of which is working with the Hope for Life Foundation, that is a pregnancy help center. So we're aiding women in being able to take care of their families.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
This morning, the Belize Kidney Association partnered with the Belize Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, BELIFA, to host a health fair in an effort to raise public awareness on kidney diseases and renal failure. The activity was held at the Lions parking lot, where several stalls were placed for persons to get tested and learn more about the work of the Kidney Association. News 5 spoke with Administrator Anna Cortez.
We organized this health fair along with BELIFA so as to bring awareness to the community about kidney disease and all related NCDs.
What is the importance of raising awareness on kidney disease and its effect on our population?
The importance is it's very important for us to bring awareness to the population hence the reason why all these health fairs and educational awareness that we engage every month. It's because to us it's very important to bring out the message across so that people know that they need to change their lifestyles. And it's to us it's very important as it helps us to bring out our association so that people can know that there is help out there. And by changing their lifestyle, they need to drink a lot more water, include fruits and vegetables, what we always say, rest, exercise. Those are the main factors. And remember, you need to control your diabetes and hypertension. Those are the two main causes of renal failure. And also, we had out here, we had different associations and government departments out here, for example, NDAC, HICOPAV, Chest Clinic, HIV, which was offering testing as well.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Charlie Hutchinson. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, have a happy and safe weekend. Good night.